Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe. Thanks for tuning in to Rosenfield 10, and I'm going to tell you how I feel about the 53-man roster, the first final roster. And of course, I don't have my editing tools right now, still a couple of weeks away. However, I'm still going to tell you the 53-man roster, which is something that these other Saints content providers haven't done. Now, Saints Now by Chat Sports did it. Thank you. A lot of the other ones that didn't do it, they have written word that they'd like you to go to. Or maybe they just don't feel like producing it. Well, I feel like producing it. I just don't have the means right now. Okay, but I'm going to tell you the 53-man roster. So at quarterback, we're keeping Derek Carr, Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener. Now, I'm not going to mention Taysom Hill. He's a football player. So let's go ahead and count Taysom Hill right now. He's going to play halfback, fullback, tight end, slot receiver, outside receiver, and possibly even quarterback. So, plus special teams. So we know Taysom Hill's on the team. At halfback, we've got Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, and Jordan Mims. We've placed Kendre Miller on IR, and he'll have 3 weeks to practice without having to be elevated to the active roster. And so, like I said before, it's probably what we're going to do. We're going to keep Miller on IR. When he's ready to practice, let him practice 3 weeks, learn the playbook, and then if he's worthy, he'll take a roster spot. It'll come from somewhere. Probably just taking Jordan Mims' place, and then Mims goes to the practice squad after that. But for now, our running backs are Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, Jordan Mims, and of course, Taysom Hill. We kept fullback Adam Prentice. Last year, we didn't start the season with a fullback. We had Prentice on our practice squad, and we elevated him to the maximum amount before we finally put him on the active roster. So that's something to look forward to. To keep an eye on. We have Adam Prentice as fullback on the team now. But if a future move is going to be made and a player is going to have their position taken, just keep in mind Prentice could be released and then signed to the practice squad at a later date. Like I say, Taysom Hill is going to play fullback too. At wide receiver, we kept 6. We kept Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed, Cedric Wilson, A.T. Perry, Bub Means, and Mason Tipton. Mason Tipton, undrafted guy from Yale, who looked great in practice and then got hurt and couldn't play in the preseason games. He looked pretty good in practice, pretty good against our solid secondary. So I think that's why we kept him. He looks like a player that's too good to put on the street. And he has special teams potential as well. It's weird to keep a guy on the 53-man roster that we, as Saints fans, haven't even seen play yet. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. At tight end, we kept 3, not including Taysom Hill. Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, and Dallin Holker. Michael Jacobson was released. We'll probably sign him to the practice squad. Offensive line, we kept 8. Our starters look like they're going to be Taliesin Fuanga, Lucas Patrick, Eric McCoy, Cesar Ruiz, Trevor Penning. And the 3 backups right now are Landon Young, Oli Udoh, and Nick Saldiveri. I thought Saldiveri would start on IR. If he's close enough to play, then we'll see him play. One of the biggest surprises to me was releasing or waiving Kyle Hergel, who I think now will hopefully put on our practice squad, and I think he's going to get elevated pretty quickly. I think we're going to see Kyle Hergel get elevated early because Saunders. I don't know if Saldiveri's back and ready 100% right now. And I don't know how much time Saldiveri's had at center anyway. I don't recall seeing him play center in the preseason last year. And yeah, we haven't seen him this preseason. So that's going to be important. Landon Young and Oli Udoh can play both sides at tackle, and they've been working all off-season and training camp and preseason at working both sides at guard. So you need somebody as a backup center, and Saldiveri looks like the option right now. Lucas Patrick starts at left guard, and he can play center. Cesar Ruiz starts at right guard, and he can play center. But I hate that idea of moving a starter and then bringing someone up. It kind of messes with two positions instead of one. If you had a backup guard who can play center, and let's say Eric McCoy gets hurt for a game, you're going to move Ruiz to center, so he has to play a whole new position for a game, and you're still bringing in a newbie to cover right guard anyway. It's just, I would like to know that Saldiveri is going to handle it at center. I think we saw Kyle Hergel do a fine job in this last preseason game at center, albeit against backups. So now that's 25 players that I've mentioned so far, and that's the entirety of the offense. Let's jump into the defense. We kept 5 defensive ends: Carl Granderson, Chase Young, Cameron Jordan, Isaiah Foskey, Peyton Turner. And we kept 5 defensive tackles. Now this is crazy. Brian Bresee, Nathan Shepard, Colin Saunders, Christian Boyd, the 6th-round draft pick, and Kendall Vickers. Now Vickers doesn't belong on the team, I don't think. I think the reason we're keeping Vickers is because right now Colin Saunders is dealing with an injury, and we're going to keep Vickers until Saunders can come back. And then we're just going to end up getting rid of Vickers. Didn't know Saunders' injury was that bad. I didn't even know he was injured. He was basically demoted last preseason game when Brian Bresee started at nose tackle instead of Colin Saunders. I don't know if there's an issue here at this point or not, but apparently Saunders is dealing with some injury, so I think that's why we kept Kendall Vickers on the 53. He's definitely one of the guys that you're going to see us move if we have to bring additional players in, because having 5 defensive ends and 5 defensive tackles is overkill. 4 and 4 would be fine. I knew we would keep 5 defensive ends because we're not going to get rid of Isaiah Foskey and Peyton Turner or Cameron Jordan just yet, so keeping 5 defensive tackles, it's a lot. And I think Jack Heflin is a better player than Vickers anyway when it's all said and done from what I saw in the preseason. But hopefully Vickers, if called upon early this season, has something to show me. All right, at linebacker, we kept 6 of them. I figured we would. Demario Davis, Pete Werner, Willie Gay, Anthony Orji, DeMarco Jackson, and that 6th one that I thought could be Khaleke Hudson or Monty Rice or Jaylan Ford is going to go to the rookie 5th-round draft pick, Jaylan Ford. We haven't seen him in preseason except the first game. Yeah, when he was injured and then was healthy enough to play the first game, didn't really have any time to practice and learn the system and get acclimated and everything else. I have a lot of faith that Ford's going to be a good player. He's going to end up a middle linebacker, and he can play anything, including special teams. So that was my hope for Ford, and I guess the coaches see that same kind of potential. We had a lot of good linebackers, so let's see if Khaleke Hudson or Monty Rice or Andrew Dowell end up on the practice squad. We also had Rose running around there and stuff, so, Okay, secondary, we have 5 cornerbacks and 4 safeties. The five cornerbacks are Marshawn Lattimore, Paulson Adebo, Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry, Rico Payton, undrafted guy from Pittsburgh State, and he made the roster. How about that? He had a pretty good preseason. At safety, we kept Tyrann Mathieu, Jordan Howden, Will Harris, and J.T. Gray. J.T. Gray's a special teams guy. I thought that with the addition of Ugo Amadi and Will Harris, not to mention those veteran linebackers we ended up not keeping. We had a lot of special teams players that could have taken J.T. Gray's place at special teams ace, but no, it's not happening. J.T. Gray's going to remain on the team, and he is a liability if ever called upon to play safety. So a big surprise for everyone is that Jonathan Abram got released. Well, Abram has spent his entire career bouncing around from practice squad to active roster. Every time he's made an active roster in the league, he's never really stuck. And last year was the same thing. We've had him, I think this is the third year we've had him now. And we put him on the practice squad and we elevate him often. And then when the elevations run out, when an injury happens, we slap him on the active roster. So he made the active roster last year toward the end of the year, but he had played all year long because he kept being elevated from the practice squad. He had 2 really good games to finish off the year last year for the Saints. And I think it's just one of them things. Some guys don't want to work an extra station. They just want to be good at what they do. Well, Abram has never proven to really be that good deep as a safety. And that's why, even though he's a first-round pick, he's never stuck on a team. He's just not ever gotten good enough covering deep. He's pretty good at the line of scrimmage. He's pretty good in the box. But you have to be able to do both things. And Will Harris can do both things. Probably not as good at the line, but at least he can play deep. Jordan Howden is really good deep. He can't play good at the line either. Well, if we need a safety that can play good at the line, we'll elevate Abram from the practice squad, and I think that's where Abram's going. So there you go. That's 50 players total, and your final 3 are the special teamers. Long snapper Zach Wood, kicker Blake Grupe, and punter Matt Hayball. We released Lou Hedley, punter Lou Hedley. We waived Charlie Smith, the Irish kicker, and our idea is to sign him to the practice squad where he'll be exempt from that roster spot, and we're going to make him better than Blake Grupe. And I think that's what our coaching staff told Charlie Smith. You're not ready to be our kicker just yet. You just started kicking a ball last year, but you are so good that we're going to waive you, put you on the practice squad, and keep you there. And if somebody wants you, they can come and get you, and you can be on another team's roster just like that. But if you stick with us, you're going to get a check. You're going to work with great special teams coaches. And if you can get more consistent, you will be taking Blake Grupe's place. This is what they probably told Charlie Smith. You are better than him. You're just not quite ready, and you're not ready. And that's fine. But you stay in America, stay on our team, and just work on that accuracy. Because once you get that down, Blake Grupe's going to be looking for another job. And as far as Hayball being our punter, well, Hedley was a disaster, but I don't think Hayball is the answer either. Otherwise, there would have been a clear separation early on in camp. Yeah, he's got a better leg and he can kick it further, but you don't want to outkick the coverage and then be sacrificing 25-yard returns. I think the Saints are going to identify another punter in the waiver wires or in free agency, and we're going to have some competition in the next week. And we're probably going to sign a guy at punter that's not with us now. So there you go. Our IR players are halfback Kendre Miller, defensive tackle Cameron Peterson. We just signed him like a week and a half ago. And I thought we'd use the IR designation for Saldiveri, but we're going to use it with Peterson. We also, I believe, have safety Kevin Rader and cornerback Rajon Wright designated to IR as well. I thought we only had two that could do the 4-week thing. So I know Miller's on the 4-week thing, but I'm not sure about defensive tackle Peterson, safety Rader, or cornerback Wright. Which one of those might be on that 4-game IR? There's been some conflicting reports that Shemar Jean-Charles is on IR as well, but I know he's not on the final 53 or the first final 53 right now. So I expect Shemar Jean-Charles to be on the practice squad, Rajon Wright perhaps. And we've started 2 players on the physically unable to perform list. That's Nefi Sewell at linebacker and Tano Passanio at defensive end. If Tano Passanio was healthy, I would keep him ahead of Isaiah Foskey. It would be not even a question for me. Isaiah Foskey's had 2 years to show, a year and a preseason to show something. And, you don't want to give up on a guy, but at the same time, you don't want to use a valuable 53-man roster spot. And I keep hearing that Isaiah Foskey's being kept around because of his special teams. Well, I haven't seen the man make one special team tackle in 2 preseasons so far. So I haven't seen him make one in a game either. So yeah, that doesn't fly with me. Some players you just know. You know Trevor Penning's never going to be a great tackle. You just hope you can survive with it. And Isaiah Foskey to me is the same thing. I think you would get more on a week-to-week basis with, Nico Lalos than Isaiah Foskey. Like I said, Foskey's probably going to end up a healthy scratch, one of the 5 healthy scratches every week anyway. So, what else do I have to say before I end this video? Picking a number 2 quarterback, who cares? Yeah, I guess everybody does. And a lot of the Saints content providers are really rubbing the need for Saints fans who love Spencer Rattler and want to see the demise of Dennis Allen and Derek Carr. And when you step back and look at it as a big picture, that's probably what's going to end up happening, is we're going to be mediocre. We're going to end up firing Dennis Allen. Derek Carr is going to be out the door. So let's just get it started with Spencer Rattler right now. Well, as long as Dennis Allen's our head coach, that's not going to happen. And as far as naming a number 2 quarterback, I really don't care. The coach said he's going to practice both of them as if they're developing both of them. And if that's the truth, then that's as good as I can ask for. Because in my opinion, right now it all depends on the situation at quarterback. If let's say Derek Carr starts 0-4 and then he gets hurt and he's out for the year, Spencer Rattler's your guy, for sure. Let's say we're doing okay and during a game Carr gets injured. Let's say we're up 17-0 in the 3rd quarter and Carr gets injured. I say you put in Haener and you run the ball a lot and you try to protect the lead with a guy that might not be a little, Fumbarooski throwing the ball crazy like Rattler might. Haener lost some fumbles this preseason too. But that's the way I look at it. If Carr goes out for a game and we're up 17-0, you put in Haener. If we're down 17-0 and Carr goes out, you put in Spencer Rattler. So basically what I'm saying is, right, this year's the only year you really flirt with this. They see something in Haener that we don't see. Allen says it's been 10 weeks or 10 practices, 10 days, the last 2 weeks, that Haener's taken a kind of a separation from Rattler. But then Rattler goes out in the 3rd preseason game in the Superdome under those lights and shows us that. Best performance he's had all training camp and preseason. So that's the guy I want to see in the Superdome. If that's how he's going to react playing his first game in the Superdome, yeah, let's take that for a spin. So yeah, the promise is there. And overall, when it's all said and done, Spencer Rattler's probably the most talented quarterback in that room. But DA's not going to let Derek Carr lose his job. Clint Kubiak is probably leaning towards Rattler since that's his guy. And, Hayner's going to go out here and do what he does. Hayner struggles under the lights. I'm tired of, now it's 2 preseasons in a row where Hayner's been underwhelming. And we all want to see something special. So I don't care that they haven't picked a number 2. I don't care. I think it all depends on what happens. The situation comes up. And like I said, you up 17-0, just protect the lead, Hayner. You down 17-0, I don't think Hayner's going to bring you back. And so why would you put Hayner in anyway, right? Just put in Rattler. So there's all kinds of ways to look at this. But I'm going to accept that Derek Carr's the starter because DA's the coach. And the situation is going to dictate who you put in there. And if they're true about giving both of them, splitting backup reps with both of them, then that'll leave both of them half prepared. But at least both of them somewhat prepared. Halfback, I'm no big surprise there. We've talked about that. Kendre Miller comes up after 4 weeks, and Mims will be on the practice squad. At wide receiver, Mason Tipton, we'll see what he's got, and he might be a healthy scratch. Bub Means, A.T. Perry, they got to show a lot of more consistency, and Cedric Wilson has to be that veteran that we're counting on. If he has to start 4 or 5 games this year, I need to see more from Cedric Wilson. Tight end, we're fine. Juwan Johnson, Foster Moreau, Dallin Holker, I'm fine with that. Taysom Hill at running back. I consider Taysom Hill the second running back. I think he's got more potential than Jamal Williams. Kendre Miller has all the potential in the world. We're going to see it when we see it. I'm fine with the 5 starting offensive linemen. I'm fine with Landon Young and Oli Udoh because they've been working so hard at learning guard too. They both belong at tackle, and they're both a liability at guard. So I would rather have Kyle Hergel at this point, but Nick Saldiveri, we'll see what we have. Hopefully Hergel gets on that practice squad. Defensive end, no surprises for me. I knew we were going to keep Foskey, and we're not just going to let Turner go. This is the last year. I consider Turner injured all the time, so I would have personally traded Peyton Turner to the Broncos for a 6th-round pick. That's what I would have done. I know Sean Payton would be interested in half of our players because he worked with a lot of them, and, that's his guy. Peyton Turner's his guy. He'd give us a 6th-round pick for him, and then I'd be done with him. And I would have another defensive end on our team. And Foskey, like I said, you got to cut your losses sometimes. You want him to develop, fine. He hasn't shown me anything. Foskey he's got 1 assisted tackle all preseason, and he played the entire time. That's worse than nothing. That's like a waste of a space there. Nico Lalos could have done more if he'd have had those snaps every game. At defensive tackle, Kendall Vickers, this is a spot that's going to be gone as soon as Saunders gets back better health. And if Saunders is having an issue with getting demoted, and this is that kind of an issue, then just cut Saunders loose. And let's go grab another defensive tackle. I'm tired of keeping problem players too. I love Colin Saunders. Don't think he's going to be a fullback this year for us. So I'm hoping Vickers is only here because Saunders is hurt, and Saunders will be a great player when we get him back. In a perfect world, Nathan Shepard and Brian Bresee are playing every snap and looking great. Linebacker, no surprises except that we kept Jaylan Ford. I thought he didn't show us enough because he wasn't healthy enough, and so I figured we could easily get him on the practice squad and just work with him. But for him to be on the active roster means the coaches feel like he can provide just as much on special teams and at the linebacker spot that a veteran would have, like Monty Rice or Khalil Hudson or Andrew Dowell. So kudos on Ford. And let's not forget Nefi Sewell. Nefi Sewell is a player that, when healthy, will have a strong shot of getting back on this team. Cornerback Rico Payton, that's the only surprise. And if he's got special teams in him, he is a player. He's a baller, and I love it. I love it. When Dennis Allen identifies a DB, let's just bank on it, okay? Rico Payton's going to end up a very good player. And I hate that we're keeping JT Gray just because of his special teams. When a guy like Ugo Amadi can play special teams, can play gunner, can return kicks and punts, and can play nickelback, safety, outside corner. Ugo Amadi not being on this team and JT Gray being on this team is a real bummer for me. But other than that, I'm not shocked that Abram is gone. Like I said, he will be on this team. You will see number 24 on the field for the Saints a lot if we get him on the practice squad, which I'm sure we will. And special teams, what surprises me? Nothing. I don't think Hayball's going to be the guy. I think we're going to go get a free agent punter. And I knew Blake Grupe would make the team. A guy that just started kicking in American football last year can't be your kicker going into a season when, Dennis Allen's always on the hot seat. And yeah, he praised Blake Grupe as a good kicker for him this year. That's what he praised. All right, that's it. That's what I got. I'm sorry I couldn't show you the offense and the defense like I normally do. A couple of weeks away, and then we'll have it back. Thank you for staying subscribed for my subscribers that are still here. And if you're new, I cover the Saints all year long. Usually have a few more whistles and bells. So subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more Saints videos. I'm Joe. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat?